What is going on, FPL managers? Welcome to a new video from Fantasy Football Scout. We're talking Game Week 4 transfers. We've got the international break coming up. 2 weeks of no football. How depressing. But we're going to make lots of transfers in the meantime. And I've got Rob from FPL Hall joining me today to go through all of it. How are you, Rob?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, actually. I'm ticking along nicely. Steaming ahead of you now, Ted. Miles in front. I think it's almost impossible to catch me at this stage of the game.
So just to brief viewers, like we had exactly the same rank last week, exactly the same points, and Rob has steamed ahead by just 2 points ahead of me this week.
No, 50k rank, we'll say that.
50k rank, 2 points. That just shows how close it is at this stage of the season. Unbelievable. But yeah, 2 green arrows for us both. Pretty happy with that. Son captains came off for us. It was pretty squeaky bum time though for us. I was pretty worried about our Son chances. But yeah, let's go straight into it and let's have a look at how we got on in our teams. We'll start with you, Rob. So 68 points. Talk us through it. We've got Martinez flagged, by the way.
Yeah, I love how you are very quick now. You put a red flag on him now with the points, not for the future team, just to really rub it in that, I should have predicted red zone listed COVID, South American FIFA sanctions, and that's my fault. It's a kick, honestly, because I said before, and I've said to you privately that I'm not even itching to get rid of Grealish. I just want to take advantage and use a little bit of Grealish's money with the Barnes. Grealish and Barnes and Ings were who are looking at, but I mean, I don't. Foster's even injured, so I can't even take a risk and pray that Foster plays. So I have to use a transfer. I have to use a transfer on a goalkeeper.
I don't think you're wrong to have Martinez from the start. And
No.
The international break stuff. Who knows what's going to happen? The Argentinian boys are off apparently, but who knows whether Brazil will go? Who knows whether Antonio
and other released countries as well. Like I'm still not 100% sure what's going to end up happening with Salah and players like that. We're just really not certain at the minute.
I'm hoping that they're just going to go to the games that aren't on the red list and they'll be back in time after playing one international break. So I guess what the end result is, we just have to keep our fingers crossed. But you've certainly got someone to deal with in Martinez that is definitely probably going to be out for Game Week 4. So that seems like a transfer locked in. But talk us through the rest of your team, how you got on and what the captaincy and everything else.
Yeah, defensively, it's a sort of tale of 2 weeks, really. Last week, it was, Simicast and the likes. 11 points there from the back. Shaw with a 6 point, that's fine. And back-to-back weeks, I've got a cheeky 2 point bonus from a defender. This time it was Trent, right, getting 2 bonus there. But, and I know you've been not pushing for a Trent sale, but when we've talked about bringing in the likes of Ronaldo, bringing in the likes of Lukaku and people like that, I talked to you pre-stream and I've made like drafts and stuff because I'm considering a wild card, but I don't want to, but I'm considering it with the players that are happening. And the transfer window, I think, closes tomorrow. 11 o'clock at night, right?
I mean, I hate the idea of removing Trent, but I just can't see any other way of getting 3 of the premium forwards or the midfielders like Salah, Ronaldo, Lukaku, or whoever you want without removing Trent. It's going to be super tough.
Honestly, like I've sat there and I sent you one draft. And I even said to you immediately after I sent you a draft where it could have been like Ronaldo, Salah, and Son. If Ronaldo say 12.5 million, I sent it to you, and within 30 seconds, I was like, I don't like it.
Yeah, there's so many holes in the team, so many holes. It's
really, and you can see I've gone Bruno at the start of this season because I said I didn't want Salah and Bruno because of effective ownership as well as price. Fortunately, that has paid off so far, but I just can't squeak in. And how I feel about forwards. I just feel midfielders is where the value is. I was talking to you about Son being captain. Now, Antonio has got goal, assist, and 2 bonus, and he's got 11 points, right? Son just gets a goal And then he had a clean sheet, and he's just finished behind Antonio with 2 bonus because Reguilon came out of nowhere and got that 3 bonus points, right? So to get Ronaldo in, and briefly with like fixtures, the Champions League are coming. The Champions League's coming up. So, for example, City have got Leicester, then Leipzig, then Southampton, then a cup game against Wickham, then Chelsea, and then PSG, and then Liverpool. So I think when people are really thinking of wildcarding and ripping up teams to bring in Ronaldo and bring in Lukaku and people like that, it's been a nice leisurely stroll for 3 to 4 weeks. Now we've got Champions League coming in.
Yeah,
and
it's a really good point.
Even less adamant to rip up a team to bring in a third. Like Ronaldo, he's another category. He's 36, but he's just a machine, and he's one of the best of all time. But even Lukaku, you've got Timo Werner sat on your bench.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is he gonna and 11.5 million? So people are ripping up the teams to have 3 top players and starting 5.5 million midfielders and 4.1 million defenders with a bare bones bench. And then you come to a Premier League game where you want them to play. They don't play those games because they save them for the difficult Premier League games and for the Champions League games.
It's really tough. Like the question on this video is Torres or Traoré, and that's a really difficult question to answer because Torres has its downsides in the fact that he's only really had one major haul in the last game. He's all he's had, and obviously people are knee-jerking a little bit, including me. But as you've just said, there's huge rotation risk going forwards. Even though he's played the first 3 games, we've got loads of games coming up for City, including the midweek European games. Who knows? Who knows whether he'll be rotated? I wouldn't be surprised if it was Pep.
And if he is the main man now, if he's like, right, okay, he's done a great job. I want him as my main number 9 down the middle. Do you think he plays against Southampton?
It really depends whether he plays against Leipzig, whether he plays against Leicester, and in
Leicester,
what order.
Leipzig, Southampton.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Leicester one isn't a great game to bring him in anyway. Like the fact that he blanked against Norwich at home, he's not going to be involved in much of the game. I don't think he's just going to be there to sit on the penalty spot and go, I'm going to tap in whatever comes to me, which is absolutely fine, which is great if you want him, but there's no guarantee that he plays. 7 million though is tempting for a City forward though.
So if you're wildcarding it, and I said with a wildcard with, now for me personally, when I use my first wildcard, I'll make a more balanced squad. Like I'll have a bench because when you wildcard, if you're wildcarding say now, you're not going to wildcard them for another 20 game weeks, something like that. That you can't really afford to have no bench for that long. So if you did take a risk on someone like Torres at 7.1, he's got massive upside. I completely agree. So if you've wildcarded and you've got 2 4.5 million playing defenders on your bench, like a Cody or a Sanchez at Spurs or something like that, then I think that kind of risk is fine. But as an actual transfer, when right now most people have a pretty poor bench,
it's risky.
I wouldn't be going. I mean, I know I'm sat here with Grealish, but he's played 3 out of 3, and he is on my radar to go out because the Champions League's coming and because KDB is going to be back, Foden's going to be back in the fold. So I think that's why Grealish has been playing. And then the likes of Sterling, like I don't think Sterling's going to stay on the bench forever.
Yeah. So you made a little sexy pick last, a sexy transfer, which was Veltman to Cody. Boring as hell. But it set you up for if you want to bring in Torres. Are you not tempted?
Honestly, no. No, I'm not. I mean, look at my team. I've got other things to deal with.
That is true. I'm
not going to go Grealish to Torres. I'm not.
That's fine. Silly. So who's on the chopping block? Who's on the chopping block for you?
Barnes. No hesitation. You did Barnes to Benrahma, right? So you got to call my pick sexy, but that was a twit pick, that one. Barnes is. I stuck with him for 3 weeks. I gave him the Norwich game. I felt he was going to play because of injuries to like Vestergaard and suspensions to Perez. He did play. Leicester look off. They really look off. And another thing about wildcarding, if I was to wildcard this early, now's the time I would be bringing in players from teams I think are going to do really well. So I said to you last time that I think Chelsea could possibly win the league this season. So if I was to wildcard now, I probably would bring in Mount and maybe a Chelsea. I might even have Mendy, Mount, and Lukaku, or Havertz, something like that. Leicester are looking off. They're going to have to really
I think
turn it around.
Mendy's a stretch too far, isn't he? Isn't he 5.5 for someone that probably won't get many saves all in all?
Oh, six, but go just like Edison, no, just 6 million, but you're getting 6 points, 20 out of 38 games. I don't think it's terrible. They'll come in the top 3 to 5 for goalkeepers for the total season.
We'll look at goalkeepers later on, but first let's have a look at my team. Let's get it up. I Son captained as well, and I personally think we got super lucky with Son. You know, it was one of those games against Watford. Like, obviously, I was texting you, and I was going, "This is." I know. I think you said it. This is like nightmare for us. The fact that Watford sat back, they kept it quite contained. Son looked really poor on the right. Couldn't get through. Just trying to get the ball sort of slightly deeper and pass it out, and there was just nothing happening for him. And there's the countless amount of times we saw him do that last season against a weaker opposition and get nothing in the game. I think we were fortunate to get a return, especially like due to the way that he scored that free kick. Backman should have done.
No, he meant it. He said, "I'm pretty sure he meant it."
So anyway. Son is actually kind of on the chopping block for me, and so is Mahrez, and so is Ings. So I'm debating whether to take a -4 with 3 transfers, or just to use my 2 frees sensibly. It really depends, like what direction I want to take the team. Do I want to get ahead, or do I just want to consolidate? And yeah, Mahrez has been a roller coaster ride, and I'm not sure I can get back on the City train and just be happy, because yes, I've got Ayling on the bench who can come in for a rotated City player, but I'm just not sure it's enough, and I'm not sure I can find a way to get 3 premium players like Salah, Ronaldo, Lukaku. I think it will probably just be 2. So we'll talk about the transfers later, but I was pretty happy with the Son captain and Mahrez to get a benched return as well. Actually, like, going without Bruno for us has worked out absolutely fine. I think I posted something yesterday which was like Son and Mahrez over the first 3 was like 35 points in total. Fernandes and Tony was like 33. So we've actually beaten the Fernan yeses to a certain extent, unless you had Son along with Fernandes and Salah. So
I do want to stick on to Son just for a second. So you suggest he could be on your chopping block. For funds, obviously he's a great player, but you can do a lot with 10 million. But I said to you before, it's difficult to say because you've had Son like me for this season, but about the fear factor of it's difficult to be afraid of a player you have. So when you sell Son, or if you sell Son, and you're looking at he's got Crystal Palace, Chelsea, okay, that's difficult, but that's the kind of fixture where Son thrives. So the good thing about Son is he thrives in these games where the Spurs will sit back against Liverpool, City, Chelsea, right? And he's got Arsenal, and then he's got Villa, then he's got Newcastle. So
this is the counterintuitive stuff with Son, that he's rubbish in the easy fixtures. Like Palace away actually terrifies me, owning Son, because I remember last year it's a Harry Kane masterclass always against Crystal Palace away. Son always just has a terrible game because he never gets any room to do anything. And as you say, the Chelsea game and the other more difficult games are probably the ones you want to own him for. But who knows? Chelsea look really, really solid at the back. And maybe Chelsea just contain and just put a masterclass. Like, they were pretty good against Liverpool with 10 men. There's no reason why they can't contain
I don't think
Spurs.
that's it, though. I think they'll go to Anfield and be smart and not lose, because it's important to not lose to your title rivals. I don't think they see Spurs as that.
I don't know. Like, they play 3 at the back, and that's always a thing about containing. So I'm just not massively keen on owning Son that much more. But
he's got 2 double-digit hauls this season out of 3 game weeks.
I think we've been fortunate. Let's just say that. I think both his goals have been just great strikes. And of course, that's obviously what Son does. He's a clinical finisher. But both events, I don't know. Obviously, I was like cheering it, off my seat going, oh my God, you've saved my game week. Yeah. But is that actually predictable going forwards? I don't think Kane looked that sharp against Watford.
No, he did. No, he didn't.
So I just wonder. I wonder about the other options out there. There's plenty of them. So I think.
But also remember about the idea that if you're using this money to go up to a Ronaldo or a Lukaku, it's not a simple Son versus Lukaku because you're gonna have to get some money elsewhere. Like if you're going Son to someone around him, I don't think anyone around him is better. I think the only people that are better than Son potentially are those above him. So Salah, Bruno, Ronaldo, Lukaku.
Yeah.
So you have to, what I would do is it's not Son versus Ronaldo. It's Son plus whoever else you're going to take out for Ronaldo and whoever you're going to sacrifice. And that's how I look at like Son. 10 million is a perfect area. But if you're going to take him out and you put him down to a Mason Mount, and Ings to Ronaldo or something like that, then you can compare it that way. I just wouldn't do a straight comparison.
I think the likes of Calvert-Lewin as a forward would be a good alternative, and you could upgrade your 6 million midfielders to the likes of Torres or Mount or whoever. I think that's an alternative that you could go down if you were wildcarding, for instance. For Mahrez and Ings probably goes to... I'm probably going to bring in Lukaku anyway this week. Not 100% sure on Ronaldo's situation. He hasn't even been announced in the game. We don't know what his price is. So I think Lukaku against a Martinez-less Aston Villa is probably a good shout. So it's interesting that maybe that bandwagon has tailed off a little bit. But we'll come to that later.
I think you're right. I think it's strange that it feels as though that Lukaku now has been overshadowed, and it'll be interesting to see. Let's just say Ronaldo comes in at 12, right? I don't think he'll be in less than 12. I don't think it'll be higher than 12.5. So 12 to 12.5. I think it's gonna be a really interesting addition to the game because people are going to flood off Bruno, or are United fans going to double down? Honestly, I wouldn't be half against selling Salah and going Bruno and Ronaldo to see what happens, because we don't know. People are instantly saying Bruno is done, Bruno is finished, Ronaldo's the main man, sell Bruno, get Ronaldo. I would be tempted then to go maybe actually Salah and Bruno, because remember, the key reason I don't have both of them is effective ownership is so high. I'm never going to rise up the ranks and I want to attack. So.
I think Man United are a bit of an enigma at the moment. They did really well in their home game, but the both away games they've struggled. Even though they got a result against Wolves, Wolves should arguably have won that game.
They should have won. David De Gea did some great saves. I can't believe Wolves haven't scored.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Ronaldo coming in will change that side, whether it boosts morale. I mean, they've got a really good next game, Newcastle at home, and you'd expect them to go back to Old Trafford and get a sort of really convincing result there. So Fernandes definitely still could be in the points. I wouldn't be moving off him straight away. In a rush to get Ronaldo, because Ronaldo could be on the bench for that and he could only get 20 minutes, so you just never know. I think
I mentioned earlier, isn't he frozen?
Potentially.
Price is frozen until they play.
Yeah.
So it's not like if Ronaldo gets announced tomorrow, for example, it's not like, oh, I've got to get him in because by the time we play in 2 weeks, his price is going to be 15 million kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we've got time to think about it and take
absolutely. In well, let's move on from this team chat and let's do some stats and talk about goalkeepers, because there's a few people who are probably not that happy with goalkeeper. Like Sanchez, for me, he's all right, but he's a sort of steady Eddie that I was going 4.5 million for someone that might get a few clean sheets but not too many saves is fine. But are there any better, cheaper options out there? So we've got this goalkeeper chart here. We've got saves across the bottom. So players towards the right-hand side have made the most saves. And players towards the top have had the highest XG prevented, which means that they've prevented more goals being scored than their counterparts. So we've got Lloris there at the top right-hand side. He hasn't conceded a single goal, so it's not surprising that he's got a huge XG prevented. And he's made a lot of saves as well. So clearly he's been busy, and he's been key to those 3 clean sheets for Spurs. But we've also got Alisson and Mendy up there as well, which is no surprise because Liverpool have been pretty solid at the back as well, even though from the eye test it has looked a little bit dodgy. Chelsea, very solid at the back as well. But interestingly, Raya is there, and he's 4.5 from Brentford, and he's clearly a decent goalkeeper. He's made a lot of decent prevention saves, and he's getting the number of saves as well. So does Raya interest you, Rob?
Oh yeah, he made a cracking save against Danny Ings in that match, and he's already had 2 clean sheets. Personally, I never usually back newly promoted sides from the off, but I said to you, if I'm going to go down from 5.5 and I want 1 million, I think he's the best 4.5 option. I think the sticking point is going to be Game week 6 Liverpool, game week 6 Liverpool, 7 West Ham, 8 Chelsea, 9 Leicester.
The fixtures aren't brilliant.
You could walk away from 4 points from those games, concede a goal, but make the saves to give him, the points to make it worth it. I know it makes you sick to spend more than 4.5 million on a keeper. Obviously, I don't have that feeling because I've spent 5.5 on my goalkeeper. I just feel as though maybe for me, 5 million is going to be the sweet spot. I think some really good potential for players, for goalkeepers at 5 million.
So yeah, that's good.
Rather than 4.5, because people took Sanchez. He's, like you say, he's doing all right. Bachmann at Watford, no. Nearly promoted Raya, but they've got some real tough fixtures coming up. But you can get an established goalkeeper like I said to you, Sarr at Wolves for long term, because Wolves have got a really good run of fixtures now.
Jose Sarr
really have a good run of fixtures, and I think Meslier is probably going to be the one I would go for. I don't know why I sent you a draft with Pickford, and I'm like, why am I sending you a draft with Pickford?
Immediately rebuked that.
I did. Well, as soon as I sent it to you, I'm like, what am I doing? Really a long day, but
I mean, Sarr and Meslier on this chart, they're both on the right-hand side. Lots of saves, lots of BPS baseline. I think Wolves have got a really good run of fixtures, and as you said, Leeds do as well. Seems like Meslier probably not as good in terms of the XG prevented, but so Sarr could be one. But I think Meslier is always going to get the more saves because Leeds just are a little bit leaky with the shots. So I think either one is probably a good shout. Sanchez on the left-hand side there basically means he's a solid goalkeeper, but Brighton, the way they play with a possession style, means that he's not going to be making too many saves, and that was consistent last season, so you can exactly expect that. The one that shocks me here is Martinez. He's apparently second worst. Maybe that's just the tough start that... Actually, no, it wasn't even a tough start. It was three brilliant fixtures.
That's why now they've got a difficult fixture, and now he's going to be in the top right. Give it 5 game weeks, and he's going to be high-fiving Lloris in the top right of this chart.
He's like minus 60 on XG prevented. That's terrible for him. He's normally good at stopping the big chances, but clearly hasn't been recently. So it's interesting. Obviously, you have to get rid of him anyway, so it becomes like a redundant topic. But it just really surprised me to see him because he's normally the one that's top right. In any case,
we had Mings off before, right? The previous game, Mings didn't start. And then I think Konsa went down as well. So, and plus the new players getting used to it. But we stuck to it because of they didn't really change a lot at the back. That's why I thought it would be okay for Martinez to start the season with. But yeah, a few injuries at the back there. And plenty of people also being on Bachmann as well, who's been very underwhelming. And
I mean, if you've got the luxury of making a goalkeeper transfer or you're wildcarding, I would definitely look to get rid of Bachmann. He hasn't been that impressive. And I probably would look to move away from Sanchez as well, if you can, towards my... As you say, the 5 million goalkeepers probably do present something. If you have to stick to a 4.5, go with Raya, but his fixtures aren't that great. But I don't think that matters for a 4.5 goalkeeper. You're always going to get save points, and there's always a chance that they could keep a clean sheet unexpectedly and get some bonus points.
He's just put out there, David De Gea's 5 million. If I'm wildcarding, I know Henderson is...
How long is he out for?
Coming back?
Yeah, how long is he out for?
Going back September 11th is what the game says.
Okay.
But David De Gea just did a fantastic performance against Wolves, like really top level. He's been pretty decent so far this season. If I was to wildcard, why would I? People will go crazy because I'll say it, but Luke Shaw to David De Gea in a wildcard to save 0.5 million if it helps me to get a Lukaku or Ronaldo.
I mean, just the fact that you can't do a defender to a goalkeeper transfer is just enough.
No, I mean in a wildcard.
I know what you mean. But yeah, I don't like
short to Reguilon at Spurs and
I don't like it.
You don't know who's nailed. Henderson can come back and that'd be terrible. It's just a
exactly.
Wing shout there for David. Just to point out, he's 5 million, so.
He's 5 million because Henderson is also 5 million. So he will come back.
4.9 million, so that's even
okay. Better. Fine, whatever.
But no, everyone's gonna go Ronaldo, Greenwood, Sanchez. No one will see De Gea come in or Henderson. I'm telling you now.
Right, let's move on and talk about some fixtures. Let's get some up. So, top 5 teams on top of the fixture ticker. We've got Wolves here. First 6, game weeks 4 to 9, absolutely plum fixtures, and that's why we're all sort of eyeing up Traoré or Jimenez or any of the defence or Sarr, whoever it is, because these are really, really good fixtures. 4 green ones in a row, followed by Villa and Leeds, who they could get results against. So, I mean, Watford away is probably a really decent start. But the thing that troubles me with Wolves is that they've only got 2 home games out of these 6, and that's such a huge bearing at the moment. So remains to be seen whether they can actually use these fixtures to get some form, because they are currently the most underperforming team, having scored no goals from something like an XG of 5. We'll end up looking at under-over performance later on. But next one down is Arsenal, and I don't see anyone going with any Arsenal players until we get some form from them. And if then, it's probably going to be like Smith Rowe or Odegaard or someone who's probably not that much to invest in. But yeah. No one's going to be investing in Arsenal, sadly. And then we've got Leeds. So we were talking about Sarr, we're talking about Meslier. Leeds third on the ticker. Sadly, they've got a tough fixture in game week 4. So Rafinha owners, Ayling owners might be a little bit put off about playing them this week. I'd probably still play Rafinha. But then after that, you've got the Bamfords, you've got Rafinhas, you've got Aylings. All of them become options for the long term. And you're happy owning.
Harrison's a key one there.
Yeah, he's 5.9, isn't he?
Yeah, 5.9 million is pretty tasty.
That's pretty tasty. I think we both own Rafinha, don't we? And we're both pretty happy about keeping him long term because those fixtures are very, very decent. And we've got Brighton next, but I mean, who out of the Brighton team are you happy owning? You've just transferred out Veltman just for him to come back.
And give away a penalty. So that's it. That was the perfect transfer, actually, because I knew he was a liability. And he came back into the side and he gave away a penalty on Seamus Coleman. So, I mean, I called it. I could see it happening. And that's why I made such an intelligent transfer to Cody.
To be fair, I thought that penalty was harsh. I thought a lot of people
shoved him in the back. He's off. Okay, interestingly, when I was doing some stat checks, Grosh.
Pascal.
So Grealish is top for chances created with 9, right? Alongside Traoré and Gross.
Yeah, but I mean, he's always done that season after season, like Mason Mount. If you're playing in a team that massively underperforms, game in, game out, he's just he could be the best chance creator ever, but he's just never going to get any returns, and it's
more pay.
Yeah, exactly. I think Morpie was like the biggest underperforming forward last year. So that says it all. It's a nice shout, of course, but it's
most crosses and successful crosses as well.
Okay.
So most chances, most crosses, most successful crosses for midfielders.
So you bring him in this week?
It's a no.
Oh,
No.
really? Surprise,
Ah,
surprise.
yeah. You know what?
Unbelievable.
Just for that, I might bring him in for
No,
Son
okay,
and then
fine.
Ings to Ronaldo.
You can see my rank surpass you next time we do this. Oh, why did you bring in Pascal Gross, Rob? Oh, well, he was great for chances created. Oh,
Hell of a crosser of the ball.
no
That's why I
assists,
brought
though.
him in. Hey, well, Traoré hasn't, but he's joint second on goal attempts behind Salah.
Yeah,
There's 2 big chances in 3 games. And he has 22 minutes per chance.
mate,
Traoré.
I'm going to
It's
massively...
going to come. But Jimenez as well, most chances created with 11. So I've been singing the praises of Gabriel Jesus. I think he's been fantastic the last 2 games. Incredible. He's done 8 chances created. Jimenez has created 11 chances.
Yeah.
And also, we all know Antonio is far and above everyone for, shots, everything. He's just a machine right now. But Jimenez is up there with 12 attempts, 11 in the box.
So what were your thoughts on Jimenez?
Huh?
What are your thoughts on Jimenez?
I said preseason, I love him. I love the Mexican. It's fantastic, but I wanted to see how he returned to the game after a prolonged period, and especially a serious injury and a head injury. I think if a player gets the leg broken, I think that can change the mentality of getting stuck in, right? And I think that can be the same for a head injury in terms of aerial challenges. He hasn't seemed to be pulling out of anything yet, but he's up there for chances, attempts in the box. Traoré up there for chances created. So for the price as well, like 6 million, or actually a 5.9 million, I think it is. Is that Trincao, the lad on loan, I think, from Barcelona?
Yeah, he looks interesting.
But
then
Traoré, you just accept it for 6 million. People get frustrated when he hauls once every 3 or 4 games. But what do you want for 6 million? Like, I'm not looking at him like I'm looking at Salah and Son and Bruno. And I'm looking at him thinking he's really unlucky not to get anything. I'm looking at Jimenez and I'm thinking he's really unlucky not to get anything. So to bring players in, so many people are saying they've not done it yet. They've not got the goals yet. They've not got the assists yet. But I don't care what they've done in the past. I'm looking for the future. And when I'm looking at Watford, Brentford, Southampton, and Newcastle in the next 4, it's going to come. And if it's going to come from Wolves, it's going to come from Jimenez or Traoré.
Yeah, I agree with you, which is partly why he's in my transfer thoughts. But yeah, I'm going to be massively regretting saying, oh yeah, Gross is really good for stats, but not good for conversion, because I'm just going to get massively criticised by bringing in Traoré for the same reason. So yeah,
that's what I mean. He's not done it yet. But I mean, Traoré, you're not going to bring in Pascal Gross because he's got the most successful crosses. That would be like a really...
100%
reason to bring someone in. I'm bringing it in because he likes playing in wet weather conditions. It's that kind of big. But honestly, I sang his praises last week, and I just think Traoré he's just so close to being there.
He is. He looks very, very impressive.
There. I think he just needs just a little bit more time. But we've had 3 game weeks. He's going to have a break now. I'm sure he's going to do some training. He could be off to Mexico.
I said to this yesterday, like Jimenez, I think once he scores the first goal, the floodgates open.
I think exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, once Traoré if I'm watching a Wolves game against Watford, if they score, say in the first 10 minutes, I reckon they'll win like 4-0.
Yeah. So the other thing we have to consider is they've got a new South Korean sort of inside forward guy. I think he's called Hwang. But he seems like to be quite a decent player, and I don't know how that's going to change the Wolves team, because it certainly seems like Traoré, Jimenez, and Trincao are certainly up there. So I don't know whether they change formation to accommodate this guy. That remains to be seen. But I think Traoré is versatile enough to play on either flank, so he's probably nailed in that team.
He's got to. I'm not seeing. He's not getting dropped.
Yeah, exactly.
And Jimenez isn't getting dropped. So. That's the important thing. I always find it strange, clubs doing all these loans with possible obligations to buy. It's just, for me, it's so strange to build a club on loans and then not have them for the future. Premier League clubs, I think, should just go out there and buy these players. It just feels a bit strange.
So, the last team we haven't mentioned on this ticker was Everton, and I'm probably only looking at DCL from that point of view. And I think But the issue is, if you started off with 3-5-2, it's very difficult to get in a third striker unless you're just downgrading or moving from Ings to Calvert-Lewin or something like that. But I think the Calvert-Lewin's a great option, but obviously he's been on penalties. He's not really scoring open play goals. So that remains to be seen whether that can continue. What are your thoughts about Calvert-Lewin, Rob?
Oh, he's so obviously the easy pick. And sometimes people are overthinking it. And the funny thing is, we had the Twitter template, and in game week 1, it smashed, right? It got like 90, 100, 110 points. And I've noticed now we're at game week 3, some people have tried to be a bit clever and being like, right, I'm going to go against the template. I'm going to start deviating from it. I'm going to start making my own way. And they've been punished. If it's easy and the stats are there and the eye test is there, it's easy. Don't overcomplicate it. That's going to be the Barnes to Benrahma was last week's Twitter pick. Ings to Dominic Calvert-Lewin is this week's Twitter pick for sure. Yeah. That's going to be the most popular. I'm looking at doing that because it's why not? He's supposed to be on penalties now, unless Richarlison starts slapping him about again because he wants to take his ball and go home.
I think, but like if you're wildcarding, having like someone like a front line of either Lukaku or Ronaldo, and then Antonio and Calvert-Lewin seems to be a really good shout. And I said
that to you when we spoke after the stream last week, and you smashed together a wildcard. You were tinkering around, and you were like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And it had Lukaku, Calvert-Lewin, and Antonio, and I was just like, "This is what I would do." Yeah. If I was to go 3, I like 3-5-2. Midfielders for me is where the most potential is. But that front line for long-term fixtures and just talisman of the teams and so important, top quality players. And you can move. You could downgrade him to get a better midfielder. There's other players around those prices of Ings, Calvert-Lewin, Callum Wilson kind of players. So it is easy to mix and match those players. Yeah, but when I saw Calvert-Lewin, Antonio, Lukaku as a front line, if I do pull my wild card for this, that is probably going to be my front 3.
Yeah, I agree. It's really strong. The only thing is, obviously, if you want to have Ronaldo and Lukaku, for instance, I don't think you can go with Calvert-Lewin. It has to be Antonio, presumably. So that's an interesting one. Here's an interesting question. Would you take a hit to move like a mid-priced midfielder to Calvert-Lewin with a change of formation? Do you think that's worth it?
It depends on the player. I said to you, in the transfers that I've got for you, I'm penciled in for a -4, and that includes Ings to Calvert-Lewin, and that's putting a bit too much. Ings is likely to blank against Chelsea and get 2 points, but a -4 and those 2 points means Calvert-Lewin's got to do a bit extra for me. So it's the same with what you're saying about taking a hit for a mid-price midfielder. What kind of price range would you say?
Well, between sort of 8 and 10 million, I suppose. You've got the Sons, you've got the Havertzes.
Take a hit to take them out for Calvert-Lewin? No.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. But obviously, you need the extra funds to spread around your team, I think, especially if you want to get the likes of Lukaku in or Ronaldo, depending on what price he comes. So it's an interesting method, but it's annoying having to change formation because it normally involves a hit, and I'm not 100% it's worth it.
No, it's not. And Ings at Chelsea, I'll just suck it up for a week and accept it, because Ings is the kind of player that's going to get a 95th minute penalty and Chelsea's going to win 5-1. Like that's football. And I'm trying to be a better FPL manager, and this is the season where I've not started like an absolute train wreck for the first time in like 12 years. And I'm really trying to resist the urges of making these silly mistakes. I take so many hits. I just take like a -4 like every other week, and it can pay off, and it can. But that's one of the ways of being a good FPL manager, is to judge: is this the time to be patient? Is this the time to attack? And Danny Ings has not done it. It's like when I said about Grealish, he's not done anything specifically wrong for me to be like, right, get out of my team.
It's the fixtures. It's the fixtures, you know.
It is. It's 100%. And I do agree with that. But then do I take a hit? Because like I said, Calvert-Lewin has got a great fixture. He's got Burnley. But a team like Burnley, I think for Calvert-Lewin is not a good fixture.
Well, let's have a look at some teams. Let's have a look at some teams. I'll move on.
Dominant.
I'm going to move on to the next graphic because we've got team performance up here. This is like over-under performance. So we've got XG across the bottom and then its equivalent in goals across the top. So top right, we've got Man City, best for goals, best for XG. Arsenal are the worst XG, the worst goals, unsurprisingly. But yeah, we're talking about, Calvert-Lewin, talking about Ings. Everton are up there in terms of the amount of XG and the amount of goals they've been scoring. Third equal for number of goals that they've scored, which is crazy. I can't even remember their results, but I mean, 7 goals is pretty good. I guess let's talk about Wolves again, because you can see that they're the most underperforming team. Zero goals from a really, really decent XG from a mid-table side between 5 and 6 XG. 0 goals. It just shows how underperforming they are. That is not going to continue even with Traoré in the side. That is definitely going to be rectified in the next 4 game weeks.
And visually, they're playing so well. They are genuinely look like a decent side. And like you said earlier, as soon as they get that first goal, they'll get the second, and that'll get the ball rolling for them. I think that's goal shy or something. I don't know what it is, but they've lost every game 1-0 so far, and they probably should have won those games.
Yeah, 100%.
And
we've commented that Traoré and Jimenez both have excellent stats. I mean, probably Jimenez arguably better than Traoré in terms of being a busy player. He's taking a lot of shots, he's creating a lot of chances, but there's no end product. And as soon as we see end product, I guarantee you there will be a bandwagon for Wolves players, because when a team underperforms, typically they do overcompensate in the next few game weeks to bring that underperformance back up to normal levels. So it's interesting. I think Torres versus Traoré is going to be an interesting conversation this week. Certainly something that I'm having a drama with. The problem with Torres is obviously he plays for Man City, the top right team, most XG, most goals, along with West Ham. But it's that rotation risk, and I know he's played his first 3. I can't do it. I can't move to Torres and face the rotation risk from Pep, because he will punish, especially with this run of fixtures and the European games. Maybe he plays Torres in the European games. Who knows? But it's basically just speculation. That's all we have to speculate.
That's my worry for Lukaku, because when Chelsea's in the Champions League and they want to defend the title, and you've got the likes of Timo Werner on the bench, who's like how much did they pay for him? 80 million or something? A lot of money for him. He's going to stay on the bench forever. And that's the problem, because you want Lukaku to play against those lower teams, but he won't. He'll play against the difficult fixtures because you want to play the best 11, which puts me off the likes of Lukaku. I think if I were wildcarding, I might even go for Lukaku. My front line might be Antonio, DCL, and Jimenez.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you could go Bamford as well. Leeds have been okay. Bamford got a goal. It was slightly fortunate with a little topo, but he's going to be busy. But yeah, I like the Jimenez shout. Once Wolves get off the ground and start scoring, I think he's great.
But that's the timing, isn't it? We're trying to get these players the week before they do kick off, because that's when everyone else is going to jump on him, and it's going to go and then everyone's going to go Ben Rama to Traoré. Right. So
yeah, maybe. I mean, you've got West Ham up there. They are overperforming, but obviously form can be perpetual in terms of the confidence they've got in that team, the morale boost. That does drive more and more goals. So even though they are overperforming, Benrahma could still get plenty of attacking returns in the next few game weeks. It just long term will subside. But certainly no reason why everyone should be getting rid of Benrahma in the next few game weeks. I think West Ham are just absolutely superb.
They look really good, really good. Few changes, same manager, everyone knows the system. Lovely goal Antonio set up for Fornals. Just defensively is the issue. They're letting in too many goals. I mean, that turn from Gallagher, the Cruyff turn was sublime, but Palace hadn't scored all season. It looked terrible. You can't if you want to fight for the top 4, but realistically the top 6, you can't concede 2 goals to West Ham, to Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace, yeah, it was an interesting result that Crystal Palace don't obviously score too many goals, but obviously they took their chances well. I'm not too worried about West Ham's defence, though, to be honest. I think both of those goals were just class act from Gallagher, to be honest. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Certainly against they're playing Southampton next, aren't they? Southampton aren't going to be setting the world alight in terms of their attacking prowess. So if West Ham concede there, then maybe it's something to worry about long term. But I think we both have Soufal, don't we? So that's something to potentially keep an eye on. Another overperforming team is Man United, and that probably doesn't really surprise me in terms of their goals. I mean, Fernandez's hat trick was definitely overperforming, and Greenwood scoring his chances. That the goal against Wolves was, it went in. It was a difficult opportunity, but
goalkeeper should have said that. Actually put me off, Sar. It put me off him. It was poor goalkeeping. That it really should have saved it.
But definitely the talking point on here is Wolves, and it just makes me want them. It really does.
It's value. It's everything that we're looking for. The stats are there, and the fixtures are there, and the price is there. Now's the time that we need the finished product, and it's been 3 weeks. It's enough to have enough sort of data and to look at what's happening. They genuinely look good to watch as well. I think they've been massively. I think last week I mentioned that they'd had the second most amount of shots and chances behind Liverpool. How they didn't score against Manchester United, I've got no idea. It saved off the line at one point. I think was it Wan-Bissaka who saved off the line?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, wonderful.
David De Gea, Peter Schmeichel came out and said that was save of the season. Yeah. With that double save.
Yeah, that's the second shot. The second shot from Saiss was incredible because they slow it down on replay. And it looks like David Hare's make a decent save, but we watch it real time and it comes at him so quickly.
So fast, yeah.
He moves his hand out even before the ball's struck, basically, preemptively trying to guess where it's going. Absolutely incredible. And
you know what's interesting, what's just twigged in my head is the fact that Wolves is so low here, and overperformers are Manchester United now, and clean sheet where you said overperforming was Hugo Lloris, and they are two of the teams of the three that Wolves have played.
Yeah, absolutely.
So United stats here are inflated, and Hugo Lloris, his stats are high up.
Yeah,
and that is down to because Wolves haven't put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah,
because and Wolves were well on top again. Manchester United's first half display was awful, but Wolves were great.
Yeah.
And Wolves against Spurs, I watched that game as well. Wolves were fantastic.
They just need end product. So they just need
the prime. They're like an apple about to ripen. They're there to be plucked. And I'm just looking at them thinking, they're doing everything right. They're just not sticking it in the onion bag. And as soon as they do that...
This is like a massive headache for me because like I made an analogy. It's like getting on a bus with no driver if you're going to bring Traoré in, and I just don't want to be stuck there having brought Traoré in because he's really, really a decent talent. I'm just going to watch him every single game week, enjoying owning him without any goals or assists, and it's never going to take off. That is my worry. But surely with these fixtures, he gets something. His record is not good though, is it? It's something like 7 goals in 140 appearances. He's more of an assister, granted that, but I think he's improved. I think he looks like a better player than in previous years. So that's something to consider too. And I am tempted. Well, let's move on to talk about stats themselves for players. We've got a chance diagram here. So the 4 main ones: small chances created in red, small chances which are the difficult shots, big chances which are the easy shots, and the big chances created in white at the end, which are the really good chances that players have created for their teammates. This isn't per appearance, this is just like overall the last 3 game weeks. So the likes of Lukaku will probably have lesser stats when realistically he's probably top of most of these tables. You can see Lukaku down there in 8 small chances. You probably adjust that and he's top. He's also got 2 big chances, but you adjust that, he's probably up there as well. So Lukaku definitely looks good from on a per appearance basis. But in terms of overall, you can definitely see the Wolves guys. Jimenez is like massively up there for the amount of chances that he's created, and Traoré is across all 3, well, the first 3 brackets. Amazing stats from the Wolves guys, and it's just a case of Do you go now and beat the goals and assists? Do you beat everyone else to them? Or do you refrain and hope that their poor conversion continues? It's a really difficult situation. I personally think these stats will convert into goals and assists, and I'm definitely looking at bringing in Traoré. So we've got Antonio there, top of big chances. That doesn't surprise me, along with Calvert-Lewin. That's why we're considering them as two of the best mid-price forwards, and it's just unsurprising as to the amount of big chances they've had. Obviously, that's two penalties for Calvert-Lewin, so that's somewhat inflated. Antonio's got a penalty, right? So he converted that. So again, that's slightly increased. But
didn't he miss it and then score the rebound?
Oh yeah, that's right. It's still a big chance. It goes down as a big chance, but he gets a attacking return for that. For the assist. So no, it is what it is. But I mean, players like Mason Mount here are ones to take note of.
I was looking for him and I found him. There he is.
I should have removed him after he made that comment.
Right there, look at that. Joint third. Small chances created.
That's just it. It's not clear-cut opportunities he's creating for his opponents. Where is he on the big chances?
You'll be sorry when he bangs an ace.
I'm going to really regret this. You're going to send me, like, he's going to get a really good game. He's going to get like a couple of assists, and
he already has. He's got 6 points, 6 points, 2 points so far this season.
Are you tracking Pascal Grosch's performances? Do you really? Oh my God, if I ever make that move, you have to pin me down and stop it, because that's like bottom of the barrel move, isn't it, surely?
If he double-digit hauls this next game, Ted.
Don't send me any messages, I swear to God.
I'm gonna make that, that Pookie dancing gif that really annoys everyone. God, I'll make one for Pascal.
Definitely not. Let's have a look at some other players. So we've got Rafinha up here, 9 small chances. He's also on the big chance list, but he's also got 2, but he's just dropped off it because of alphabetical order or something. But I mean, the likes of Rafinha, Lukaku, Armstrong, Fernandes, Vardy, and Trincao also have 2 big chances to their names as well. So very, very decent list of names to compare. But yeah, who else strikes fear into your heart for not owning them on this chart, Rob?
I have no fear. No fear at all. Fearless. But actually, some of the people I wanted to pick up on, a lot of people looking at the likes of Gray, Everton, which I understand, and I will get onto him in a moment. But I honestly think someone that could genuinely offer fantastic value, stick it in a 3-man up front, but as your cheap enabler, Adam Armstrong.
Yeah,
at Southampton.
His stats are fairly decent.
That gets in behind. I feel as though Ings and Adams were more side by side, and they don't really have the pace. You see, Ings, I mean, he created at the weekend. He drops back as well as being a poacher. But Adam Armstrong is your, I don't want to say Michael Owen-esque, as in like I think he's as good as Michael Owen, but that kind of small, fast forward that gets in behind, who loves a shot. He's already got 13 points this season, a goal and assist. Southampton have West Ham and City, which isn't obviously great at all. But then he's got Wolves, Chelsea, Leeds. So if you're going to wildcard like game week 7, for example, to get those Chelsea boys in, game week 8, Leeds, Burnley, Watford, Villa, Norwich. I think as a cheap 6 million, I really think he offers top value for money.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Tony is an interesting one. I wonder whether people, if they've held on to him and got the goal this game week, whether they keep him. And if they don't want to keep him, then Adam Armstrong could be an alternative to move down to.
And what would you the Ings to Calvert-Lewin money as well? Because Calvert-Lewin is what, 8.2?
Yeah. Exactly. What would you do with Tony if you owned him? Would you keep him?
Oh, you asked me this last week. I said I wouldn't have even had him.
Yeah, but if you owned him right now, what would you do with him?
Oh, sell. I would, yeah, because he's just scored 1 goal against Aston Villa, which at the minute doesn't seem that difficult. You've already made that extremely clear with my Martinez circle on your chart, Ted. But like I said, yeah, they've got Brighton next. Which defensively Brighton usually are not too bad. Then they've got Wolves, who we both have said are currently the greatest team in living memory. But then they've got Liverpool, West Ham, Chelsea, Leicester, and it massively puts me off. Yeah, he took his goal well, but there's no particular stats or heat maps I'm looking at that's making me think that he's the right player for me.
So there's a lot of players. You mentioned Amari Gray at 5.5. Is he 5.4, 5.5? He's not appearing on any of these charts. 5.5 is quite a difficult price bracket, I'd say. We've got the Arsenal lads and we've got Amari Gray, but we've also got Conor Gallagher here at Palace, and he's got a couple of goals at the weekend. Does he interest you at all? He looks lively.
No.
Come on,
Crystal Palace.
Give it a chance.
Look, I've had Zaha in the past like 7 million. I'm not gonna go anywhere. Like for me, Crystal Palace is the worst FPL side.
Conor Gallagher's got 3 big chances. That's the same as Torres in the first 3 game weeks.
Then you get him, and I'll get Pascal Gross.
No, we're not doing this. We're not making this deal. Oh my god. Yeah. Okay.
No, I completely understand where you're coming from. He took his goal really, really well, but Palace are massively a team in transition. And from my history, when a team tries to change its football and its style, its identity, now Bolton Wanderers, I'm a Bolton Wanderers fan, and when we had Big Sam, and we weren't as bad as people said, lump it forward, but physical side, some good footballers. Palace have had a certain structure for a long time. Now, when we changed it, we had little Sammy Lee come in to take over from Big Sam. And he, with his Liverpool past experience as a player, tried to make Bolton into a passing side, possession-based team. And it was awful. We were bottom, and he was sacked, and we brought in, was it? It could have been Megson or Coyle after that. And we went back to our similar identity, and we finished, fine, mid-table. And I think that's a really big problem. You've got Patrick Vieira, who is used to playing lovely football with Arsenal, and he's really trying to bring in the right players and stuff for Crystal Palace. But it's such a huge overhaul. They've got so many new players, decent players, I understand. But that partnership of a young Chelsea product and a relegated defender doesn't scream quality to me. And the likes of, say, Gallagher, and you still got the likes of Ayew and Zaha. There's nothing at Crystal Palace at all that piques my interest.
Yeah, I was sort of asking out being devil's advocate, to be honest, but I kind of agree with you. Even Gallagher.
Deep down, you were messaging me for you like Crystal Palace. I love Crystal Palace, the top FPL side.
No screenshots.
But just going back to Gray, it is simply an enabler move. So people are itching to get Ronaldo, they're itching to get Lukaku, and I understand that. He is similar to what I said, Traoré. He is what you pay for. He's going to sit in your side. Maybe one week you rotate him out with a cheap defender and play 4-4-2 instead of bench Gray. I completely understand that. But so far, the thing that everyone says that Gray's always had the quality, but no consistency. And at the minute, he's getting that consistency. So he's almost playing as a kind of forward for Everton. He's doing, I know he's not on the stats, but he's looking like he's lively. He's taking his goals pretty well. And I think Everton's still got great fixtures. So
what about Andros Townsend? He's about 5.5, isn't he? Is he going to play?
Yeah, but Gray's playing and more and getting the goals, so that's the reason why. It's just it literally is an enabler. But this is, and I think you're the same as me, Ted. This is exactly why I don't have 2 big premiums. I've got Salah and Son because I don't. If you're going to try and fit in 3, seriously, I tried my hardest to have a decent-ish team. And you're going to have like 2 4.5 million defenders, and you're going to have a 5.5 million midfielder that's going to play for you every single week if you go for 3 premiums.
Yeah.
And I just don't personally want to do that. It's going to sicken me to not have Bruno or Ronaldo or Lukaku. Lukaku, I think you can squeeze in there. That might be fine. But if we're looking 12.5 million and stuff for Bruno and Ronaldo and stuff, you're going to have a Gray. You're going to have to find that new,
absolutely,
early, young, cheap player. And I just don't see it in the 5.5. And this is why I'm a big advocate for playing more defenders. Why would you have a 5.5 million Gray when you can have a 5.5 million defender?
So Mark Southerns has done this, and he's got 3 premiums. He's got Lukaku, Fernandes, and Salah, but he's got Mbuemo and Sarr, but he still has Trent Alexander-Arnold. But for me, if I agree with you, if a 5.5 midfielder doesn't emerge as like a really decent go-to option, like I'm probably gonna bank on maybe Smith Rowe or someone, or Odegaard if Arsenal come through with some decent fixtures. That's probably more likely than a Damari Gray to be long-term solution. But yeah, there's a hole in people's teams if they go for 3 premium forwards. You say you've only got 1 premium and 1 sort of semi-premium in Son. I think 2 premiums is probably okay to get away with, especially if you go with Lukaku.
Something's still got to give. You look at my team and I've got Salah and Son, and I've got, okay, so if I want to go Son to a 12 million, Grealish has got to go to Traoré, which I think that's a sacrifice that's not the worst. Or I can do it, right? I can Grealish to a 6 million and then Son to Bruno, for example, a 12 million player. That's not too terrible. But that's Traoré right now at 6 million. If Traoré doesn't work out, 6 million and below, it becomes Grealish and Son versus Ronaldo or Bruno and a 6 million player. And that's just with 2 premiums. I think 2 premiums, you're right. I think that's fine. But 3, something's got to give. It's got to be Trent going down to like a 4.5 million defender. And I just don't.
Yeah, it's horrible though, isn't it?
I don't see it. You might get away with Trent down to say a Diaz at 6 million and try and bank on some clean sheets or take a punt on Cancelo. But we know rotations coming for the likes of City, but not for Trent. Trent, if Trent's not in a starting lineup for Liverpool, I'm mega surprised.
Okay, let's come back to this chat when we talk about our actual transfers, because we're gonna talk about what our plans are later on. But I just want to talk about one more player on this chart, and that's Diogo Jota. And the reason why I mention him is because Firmino came off in the 40-something minute, and you know he's getting on a bit, and he's going to have some injury issues. He's clearly got something right now. Does Jota become an option for the next 3 or 4 game weeks where Liverpool have got fairly decent fixtures? Obviously, Tsimikas owners can't do this until they downgrade him, assuming that they own Alexander-Arnold and Salah already. But for people who already have only have 2 Liverpool options or something like that, then Jota could be one. What do you think about that, Rob? Is Jota on your list, or is he someone that you think still has rotation issues and you probably won't?
Rotation issues, because we've got like a 2-week break.
Even with Firmino? Even with Firmino sort of being dodgy?
I don't know if he's going to be dodgy. We've still got a couple of weeks, and all we know is he's got a knock and maybe it's a muscle injury, but we're not sure yet. So if something's slightly gone, I mean, he's likely going to be back in 2 weeks. But okay, for a 1-week punt, maybe Jota plays the next one, but he's probably not going to play after that.
It's interesting price bracket. We've got Mason Mount, we've got Diogo Jota, and we've got Mason Greenwood. All 3 decent players. But Greenwood, it feels like if you haven't owned him, buying him now is a little bit too late. We just don't know what's going to happen with that Man United team. Obviously, he's been doing really well, so there's a chance that he keeps his place. But Mason Mount hasn't. He seems like a decent option. He's someone that we've both been eyeing up, especially. Certainly from Gameweek 7 when Chelsea's fixtures turn. But Jota, right now, I would probably err on him other than the other 3 right now. Maybe not in a few game weeks, but I think he's a short-term option, personally.
You yourself about Greenwood. Like, Greenwood sits like above Bruno right now, and he's the second highest scorer. But you say yourself, he's got 2 lucky goals. And actually now he's playing more on the wing, which people don't want. You want him down the middle. But with Sancho starting to get his way into the 11, and then obviously Ronaldo's going to stroll into that starting 11, do you think Greenwood takes the left wing slot or the right wing slot?
I don't think he can play left wing, and certainly not when Sancho has to be included. I mean, Cavani's vying for it. Martial, he probably won't get the side, Martial, to be honest.
So I don't want to say it's too late. I mean, it's never too late. But I think if you've got Greenwood, you hold him. If you've not got him, I personally don't think it's a buy now.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's one of those you get. It's last seat on the bus, isn't it? It's last seat on the bus. So like everyone else has got his points, and you're going to try and transfer him in now because he's scored in every single game, and
it means nothing for the next game, right?
It means nothing, and Ronaldo comes in and shakes up that whole Man United team and you even got McTominay out. Pogba's had to play in that pivot. It means that there's less spots in the team because other people are filling in those other positions. Sancho, I've been unimpressed with Sancho, I have to say. I was definitely eyeing him up for one of
I said last week I wanted to bring him in, and I saw him against Southampton. I thought,
no chance.
I'll wait on that. There's and with United as well. So you say they play McFred as that two players in the middle, because Pogba's been pretty great on that left wing, and you've got a young Greenwood. Where, to be honest, if I'm the manager of Manchester United, it's easy for me to say to a young. How old is Greenwood now? 18, 19?
I think he's slightly older. I think he's just turning 20. He might be 19.
But it's 100%. Easy to say to Greenwood, you'll get your turn. We'll bring you on. We'll give you some game time. Just be patient. It's easy to say that to a teenager than it is to say to Paul Pogba, Cristiano Ronaldo, 100 million man Jadon Sancho, or 90 million man, whatever he cost. Cavani, full international, who they begged to stay. Martial, who's supposed to be in his prime, who is still knocking around. I think it's easier to say to Greenwood, sorry, mate, you'll come on for the last 10 than it is to anyone else.
It's tough. Like, I think regardless of his age, it just should be meritocratic. Like, he's a very decent player. He's a great finisher. He should just be played because he is that good. But there's a lot of people vying for that. I would personally play Sancho, Ronaldo, Greenwood if I was Ollie. I think Greenwood probably keeps his spot, and then Fernandes.
I think Pogba has been immense on that left wing. I'd probably play Pogba on the left, Sancho on the right, and Ronaldo down the middle. But
McTominay's injury forces Pogba to play in the pivot. So short term, I think Pogba basically has to play there, and then Sancho plays on the left. Greenwood. McTominay's injury basically enables Greenwood to keep his position, I'd say. And when McTominay's back, then that's probably when owners have to worry. So let's talk about our transfer plans. Let's finish off. Let's move to your team, and we've got basically your team with the moves that you're planning to make. So it's a -4, 3 moves, 2 free transfers. And it's Raya coming in for Martinez, ahead of the clash of Brighton at home. Mason Mount coming in for Harvey Barnes against Aston Villa, which is a tasty fixture for Chelsea because I think Martinez is out, isn't he? So, and Buendia. So I think a weakened Aston Villa side is something for Chelsea to target. And Calvert-Lewin, a potential transfer in for Danny Ings. So tell us about.
Honestly, I'm probably going to bring in. I might bring in double Wolves this week. I might bring in Sarr and Traoré for Mount and Raya.
Has our discussion changed your transfer plans so fundamentally?
Yeah. Well, Raya was to save the extra money, but I don't need it. I already said earlier at the start about Calvert-Lewin. Is it that? So for me, Barnes is gone.
Yeah.
Barnes is out. And I've got Raya in goal. But speaking about the fixtures and just thinking long term and how impressive Wolves have been, I think I'm okay with playing 5 million. I don't need the extra. Now, I've got Mount. Now, I have to go to Raya if I want Mount. But if I just hold off on Mount and I stick with Traoré, I'm not needing the money.
Okay, interesting. I mean, do you have to make a goalkeeping transfer this week? If you just would you go without one? Just for
play 10 men.
Yeah, for the sake of a -4.
No, I'll just keep Ings against Chelsea and pray.
I don't think Villa get anything in that game personally.
I know, but I said to you earlier. So 4 points, and let's say Ings plays and gets 2 points. That's -6, right? DCL's got to make up 6 points for me. He's got to get a goal and bonus. And early when it didn't get a chance to finish what I was saying about the matchups, Burnley for me and Calvert-Lewin is a really difficult fixture because Burnley are a strong, physical, good in the air side with two solid centre backs as a partnership.
Yeah, I agree with that. But they are worse away from home, I'd have to say.
True, but I just feel a Tarkowski matching up against Lewin is difficult. So I don't know how easy it's going to be for cover. The chances are I take a hit. I need to change my goalkeeper. I'm not going to play with 10 men. That just feels...
Yeah. When you've got the chance to move to probably a better goalkeeper like Ray.
And I said about Rafinha as well. I know the Brazil boys are not getting released this time, but we've talked about it before with the end of each month for the next couple of months. The South Americans have got to go. So I don't know how long Rafinha is going to be in my side. I'm not itching to get rid of Grealish yet.
Are you not tempted to wildcard? Yeah, I was going to say, are you not tempted to wildcard?
That's why I said to you before the stream, like I could just end up wildcarding, giving myself a full balanced squad and just attacking whilst I'm not doing too badly right now, rather than waiting.
So I personally think Lukaku's a great captaincy option this week. You've got Captain Salah. Are you worried? I know obviously Leeds is a pretty tasty fixture in terms of they concede a lot of shots. But Jota potentially playing instead of Firmino, I think, makes Salah a slightly worse option. It means just Jota is more likely to get the goals. So are you a little bit worried about Salah captaincy?
Sounds boring to be... I'm not doing it to protect rank. I do think he'll be possibly the highest point scorer this week against Leeds. I completely agree. Firmino knows he's a false nine and he loves being a creator and he's very good at it. I think Diogo Jota wants to be like Salah and Mane and get the goals. So I completely agree. And I completely agree that I think when Jota plays, that makes Mane and Salah slightly less attractive. If I wildcard and I end up with Calvert-Lewin, Antonio, and Lukaku as my front three, Lukaku, I still probably won't captain it. Ownership. The reason why I don't have the whole thing I keep saying, the reason why I don't have Bruno and Salah is because I don't want these players in my side that are doing nothing. Honestly, if I'd have known how highly captained Antonio was going to be this week, I probably would have captained Antonio.
It's crazy.
I went for the differential in Son, but everything was putting... You said, what was it called? Something bias.
Outcome bias.
Yeah, that it's easy to say after he's banged, but everything is pointed in the direction of Antonio. But I thought, that's fine. Son will be highly owned. I'm going to back that, and I'll be happy with Antonio. And Antonio was like 140% ownership for me. I don't know why I didn't see he was going to be so high. I knew he was going to be high on Twitter and on YouTube, but I didn't think with the almost 8 million players that it was going to be that high. And
I think more and more managers are cottoning on to like the content creating sort of thing, and I think more and more influence is being attributed towards content creators. And if people say Antonio's the clear captaincy option this week, then more and more casuals are going to be captaining Antonio, which is just a massive change, a massive shift in sociology. So it's interesting and definitely something we should be aware of. Like the Twitter polls, the Fantasy Football Scout poll definitely has its bearing, I reckon. And if Antonio comes out top by miles, I didn't know whether he did last week, but it's definitely something we should be paying attention to. And whether or not effective ownership matters that much, I'm not 100% sure, because surely just captain the player that you think is going to score you most points. I mean, that might be different to everyone else's opinion.
Well, I did. Well, to be honest, Son almost did score the most 5 points. He got robbed from bonus, and it would have been fine. But yeah, our rank area of like 500,000 is 137.2%. Top 10k is 168% ownership. Honestly, if I'm wildcard, it's going to sound nuts, and I won't, because he's still looking fantastic. But it gets to a point where do I want to have a player in my side that people might highly captain that I probably won't? But his value is too low that I can't get rid of him, and his stats are too good, and he looks too good.
I get it in terms of the Fernandes thing. He becomes annoying to own because every time he scores, you get a red arrow regardless. That's the sort of annoying player that he might become. But you can't not have him because he's going to score a lot of goals, and he's in red hot form. So it's just one of those things. I think you just have to suck it up and say, he's in my team. You don't have to make any changes for him to, it seems silly not to have a player that's going to score all the time.
Yeah. He scored 11 points and he scored 4.09 points against me.
Yeah.
And it kills me having my own players betray me in this fashion.
No, I completely get that. Talk to me about...
I could have just captain Antonio. But it's still, at the end of the day, it's still the same amount of points, right? So it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
As long as he's getting me points.
Talk to me more about Mason Mount. Why have you chosen him over the likes of Torres or Traoré? Is it covering Lukaku in this tasty fixture for Chelsea?
Yes. Yeah. We always hate that kind of term, coverage, right? Yeah. But the idea of covering, but I do want Mount, and I think he's fantastic. And I'm looking at that Villa game, especially if they don't have Mings and maybe even Konsa, and no goalkeeper, is huge. Like that actually makes me lean towards Lukaku more 100%. Than Mount, because Lukaku could be like a 15-pointer this week. Seriously, like 2 goals minimum should be coming in.
I completely agree with you. I mean, that's why I'm going to move to my transfer decisions in a minute. But do you think
it's completely true? But then I'm looking future-wise. I'm just thinking this week, if I just hold off on Mount and go Traoré, I'm just reluctant to take hits. But the more I think about it, annoyingly, I just keep thinking about wildcarding, and I think it's the wrong move.
I think
we have to accept sometimes that the start of the season, the first 3 weeks, you've chosen a team to start the season with, where the first 3 to 4 weeks, you'll have a lovely team. Every week, you'll look at your bus team and think, this is nice. Game week 2 this year, I'm easily going to bank and transfer. Game week 3, I'm going to throw away my transfer this week. I don't really need it. And now it gets to the point where you look at your starting 11 and think, 2 or 3 of my players have got an iffy fixture this week. I think I'll just wild card. But then the problem that you're going to get is you're going to wild card and you're going to have another 3 or 4 lovely weeks where you look at your starting 11 and you think, this is all nice. He's got a home fixture. This is a
you can't look at it like that. You have
exactly.
The wild card is obviously really well used early on in the season because there's massive shifts in what we expect players to do, and that's why it's useful at the start of the season. But I think if you can do a mini wild card, which is what you're potentially doing here, where you fix a couple of your problems quite quickly with a -4, you can sort of get away without doing it. It really depends on your strategy about getting Lukaku or Ronaldo. If there's a fundamental shift in your team that needs to be made, then it might be worth doing a wild card just to kill 3 or 4 birds with one stone. If you leave the wild card later on, which is what I'm sort of hoping to plan to do, it can set you up well for the second half of the season, potentially if you look at it pretty late. We've got the African Cup of Nations to accommodate, potentially Chelsea being in a Club World Cup. So there are advantages for doing it now. There are advantages for doing it later. I think probably, arguably, if you've got a few fires to fight, then now is probably the better time to do it, or ahead of the next international break.
How many points for you? So we've got 2 free. The good thing is we've got 2 free transfers. A lot of us have. How many points would it take for you to consider wildcarding? Minus points. 12. Would you take a -8 or minus? I'm considering taking a -8. And then I'm sorted for a couple of weeks.
Anything over a -4, I'd say. Anything over a -4.
Anything over a -4. So you wouldn't take a -8 to sort a team out and save a wild card?
Well, let's move to my team, because I will show you what I'm planning to do. And there is a -8 option in there, which I'm very probably not going to do, but it's a good segue to do it. The 2 transfers, very simply, 2 frees from Mahrez to Traoré and from Ings to Lukaku, who I'm going to captain him, and that's for free. But there are plenty of other options I could do. I think I'm going to bring in Lukaku anyway, so he's coming in for Ings. But instead of going Traoré, I could go Son and Mahrez down to Mount and Torres, for example. But the other option is to move Son to a 4.5 and upgrade Scarlett to Calvert-Lewin, and that's a -8. But it's a -4 to shift formation. You're not getting any advantage about playing an extra player. It's an unnecessary -4 to shift formation. And even though I really love that front line of Lukaku, Antonio, and Calvert-Lewin, I'm just not sure I can justify it. And yeah, and Son's got Crystal Palace away. I hate that fixture for Son. I absolutely think it's what I think he'll blank like massively there. Obviously, if he doesn't, they'll be really happy. But this is my hypothesis. Like Crystal Palace away is the worst fixture for Son. No space at all. It's a Harry Kane fixture. So the owners of Harry Kane probably feel very happy playing Crystal Palace away. I just remember last season.
That's the great thing about Son, though. He's so lonely owned, and that if we don't cap down,
He's not,
he's
is
10
he?
million.
He's like 30% owned in the game, isn't he?
But captaincy wise, his effective ownership and what he'll still earn you his points is what I'm getting at. So I'm not stressed. He's 26.7% owned. I'm really not stressed about him. He's not going to be massively captained, and I think he'll still do well against Crystal Palace. So I'm still really happy to have Son in my side.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, he's a really decent player, but I'm just feeling a little bit more realistic and going, I think we've been lucky with his returns. Obviously, I hope that he hauls because it looks like I'm keeping him against Palace. I'm sort of hedging my thoughts going, I don't think I'm going to get any returns from him. So it is tempting to go Torres and Mount just straight in for Son and Mahrez. And then I've got the cash in the bank to do Lukaku to Ronaldo next week. When Chelsea's fixed, he's got a couple of difficult fixtures against Tottenham and Man City, so that's definitely an option to go for. But problem with Torres, he's got Leicester away, and then he's got this run of European fixtures. He might get rotated. I want to see a few more games from Man City. If Torres keeps his spot in every single one of them, then I'll bring him in. But I think Traoré, with the run of fixtures that he has, even though he's terrible at conversion, I'm willing to take this risk. I'm going to jump on the bus ahead of everyone else and see whether he can do anything.
Well, I'm not as. I think this is the point that you made earlier, and I just checked the chat from before, and I think you could be right. Like, this might just be the week where it sounds stupid when I say it, but it might just be the week where I don't play with a goalkeeper and I go Barnes to Traoré and Grealish to Mount and Calvert-Lewin in for Ings. Or at least just do Grealish. My two transfers, Grealish to Mount, Traoré to Barnes to Traoré.
God, I was sort of saying with tongue in cheek, really, but are you seriously going without a goalkeeper?
But because then Martinez comes back the next game. But people, like, you think about it, right? I bring in a goalkeeper, it probably gets me 2 points.
Yeah, it depends on the fixture, but our goalkeeper's been fairly underwhelming apart from Lloris, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, Raya.
So look, I bring in Sarr or I bring in Raya, the Brentford goalkeeper. Realistically, he gets me between 2 and 4 points, which is the price of a hit.
Yeah.
Do I just attack with 10 players who I want and not have a goalkeeper?
I mean, I want my green arrow to be bigger than yours this year, so I think you should, go without a goalkeeper,
no,
mate.
Just like take the no goalkeeper out of the equation. That's 2 points. Do you think Mount and Traoré against Grealish and Barnes plus 2 points?
Oh god, it's like so many permutations to go for.
Barnes is probably 2 points, isn't he? This game week against Man City.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's Sod's Law. He's going to like bang in a hat trick, and I'm going to be crying in my sleep. But
he might not even play. Ian actually might come in.
He's been poor. So Traoré might be 2. They all might be 2 points. But if I don't take a hit and don't do a goalkeeper transfer, I don't lose any. I don't lose 4 points.
Yeah, you're only fixing Martinez for 1 week, so it's an interesting -4. You might as well keep him and do another attacking -4, which is what you're saying. But Mount, I think, is an interesting one because it's really for one fixture. I'm not sure he gets. Yeah,
I'll just do Traoré.
Yeah, so you do what, Barnes to Traoré and Ings to Calvert-Lewin for 2 free transfers and just leave the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I think that's fairly decent.
I don't like that face, Theodore. But it's because the reason why I keep thinking about Matt is because it, like you say it, they could be missing the centre backs and they could be missing the goalkeeper. against Chelsea, who I personally believe could end up winning the title, and they are European defending champions.
Let's
It
get
sounds
your
stupid.
let's get your team back up because I think I'm pretty set on my transfers, to be honest. Let's get it back up. Yeah, so the original plan was Raya in, Mount in, Calvert-Lewin in. How can you get Lukaku in this team, by the way? Is there any way you can do it?
Grealish. I need 2.5 million. So I can do Grealish. I can do Grealish to Traoré, which is 2 million. And then my goalkeeper down, and then Ings to Lukaku, which was my other option as well.
Grealish down
and then what I do is I bench Barnes against City, and I play Cody against Watford and play a 4-4-2.
Yeah, I mean it's a good transfer, Cody in, because it's a decent fixture. Watford, I'm not sure they score at Wolves because Wolves have been impressive.
But here's my issue again. What we talked about it earlier. I bring in Lukaku against Aston Villa. They play Werner instead because they've got Champions League football.
There's no way. Lukaku's got too much influence to be benched.
Do you think he's going to play every single game?
Yeah.
You think
Yeah,
so they've got Villa. Then they've got Zenit St. Petersburg.
So
a couple days later,
here's the question.
Then the London derby against Spurs. Then they've got Villa again in the Carabao Cup, which they'll sack off. Then they've got Man City. Then they've got Juventus.
I think if we start talking about Lukaku rotation risk, we're in the realms of overthinking like 10 times. So
but it's not, because the quality teams in the Premier League now have this depth. Look at Man City. We've talked about Manchester United. That front line, you've got Sancho, you've got Greenwood, you've got Martial, you've got Cavani. You got so many players. You got Ronaldo. You got so many top quality. You got Man City, Kevin De Bruyne and Foden coming back. You got Sterling. You got Mahrez. You got Torres. You got Bernardo Silva. You got Gabriel Jesus. You got Jack Grealish. That's 8 players for 3 forward positions.
Yeah.
And the attacking midfielder.
It's the same with Chelsea.
You think Lukaku is going to play every single Premier League game?
Yeah, well, I think he would play, 95 to 98% of every single Premier League game. I think Chelsea, the forward line for Chelsea, I think are more secure than the Man United and Man City going forward. Liverpool are the most secure, I'd say. They haven't made any massive transfers in the transfer market. So Salah definitely just nailed on. I just can't. Can you really see Tuchel playing Werner ahead of Lukaku just because it's a fixture they could win? They have to change the whole way they play. I can
see him not playing Lukaku because they've got Champions League football on a Tuesday night.
He'll just play in all of them. He's fit enough to do that, isn't he? He doesn't have any injuries. So,
because I am leaning. I said I didn't want to say because last week when I was saying about Lukaku, I only said I didn't want Lukaku because it was against Liverpool, because Arsenal made him look good and Arsenal made Torres look good. This is why I'm not going to say, like, the bottom line there is Arsenal. I do want Lukaku. I want Lukaku more than I want Ronaldo.
Oh, I completely agree with you. And a lot of people saying...
Unless they're the same price.
Yeah, then, but that would ruin the game, though, I think. If Ronaldo's priced less than 12.
If Ronaldo comes in under 12 million, the game's ruined, because everyone's going to have Salah, they're going to have Trent, they're going to have Antonio, they're going to have Ronaldo. And it's not going to be good for the game.
A lot of people saying they were put off by Lukaku in that Liverpool game. I thought he was really decent in that game. He had a number of chances he set up for his teammates, and they sort of fluffed it. When he rolled Matip, that was a particularly decent chance. Like I think he's going to explode against Aston Villa. I think he's going to get double digits, and that's why I'm captaining. And I think he can get something against Tottenham as well, and even Man City, and then you'll set up for game week 7. It's just speculating whether he's going to get anything against 2 decent sides, but particularly against Aston Villa, without Martinez, without Buendia, I think he's got a really good chance of a haul. And then potentially you move him on to Ronaldo if that's really what you want, because I think everyone's going to have Ronaldo at some point, aren't they? Because he's just an absolute god, isn't he? Really. But I think Lukaku against Villa is great. And I can't get there on point. I can't do Grealish. It has to be Son. So you're going without Lukaku for Aston Villa,
unless a wild card. If the transfer window closes tomorrow night,
yeah.
then I'll see.
So next time we do one of these, our ranks are going to be massively different because I can see this as a massive turning point.
Maybe not because I'm gonna, I've
and that could go either way.
Champion Traoré for a couple of weeks.
That could go either way. I think Salah captain against Leeds could easily haul. And
are you going to cap it? So you're putting your hat on the head of Lukaku.
Yeah, Captain Lukaku.
He's going to be your captain.
I mean, my code for the season is always captain a sort of premium-ish player at home. I'm just not going to stray away from that. And even if it is Salah away to Norwich or something like that, if there's an alternative with a fairly decent fixture at home, I'll probably just do that. I think there's a huge bearing on home fixtures this year, and you could see that by Man United. You could see that by Wolves. They've played really well at home in the last couple. I think it has a huge bearing. So that's what my code is, and I'm going to stick to it.
No, I completely agree. And look, Lukaku captaincy at home to a Villa that could miss their key 3 defensive players is massive. But it's literally what I said about Son and Antonio this week. Salah gets a clean sheet and a goal. Lukaku is going to have to do 2 returns to equal him.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because it happened this week, right? Antonio gets 2 bonus. He gets a goal. He gets an assist. Son, I'll be honest, gets a slightly lucky free kick and scores a goal.
But it completely depends on
lucky to not get bonus, and then he would have beaten Antonio.
It depends on the dynamic of the game, of course, because if in a high-scoring game, Son maybe doesn't get bonus if he doesn't get another return other than a goal, whereas Antonio, with 2 returns, including a goal, is almost guaranteed to get max bonus in any scoreline because of that forward extra. I think it's 24 bonus points for a goal, isn't it? Compared to midfielders, 20, is it? Something like that. So
less. I think it's maybe 18 or something.
18.
A midfield goal.
Yeah,
something like that.
Interesting. But I mean,
I said to you when I was doing some wildcard thinking, and I wouldn't be surprised if I did pull it. I've got time to think with the 2 weeks coming. I'm waiting for the transfer window to close.
Yeah.
That's the key thing for me. And I said to you last week, I think Chelsea win the title. So if I'm wildcarding, which you hopefully plan long term, why would I not put 3 Chelsea, have a good set of playing bench? So Livermento's probably going to be in there as my last sub. I probably have 2 4.5 million playing defenders just in case. And then why would I? I mean, it's a real unlucky thing that right now Reece James is suspended.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I would have liked him probably over Shaw.
I mean, you could even argue moving Alexander-Arnold down to Reece James because they're probably going to have the same upside. I do obviously massively rate Alexander-Arnold, but if you're going to facilitate 3 premiums, then you sort of have to.
And people take that as the fun part of people when I said look, starting with 4 or 5 defenders is the safest way to start in my opinion. And actually in the first, I haven't seen this week's, what they call kings of the game week, the best players. The first couple of game weeks were 5 defender formations. Did you know that?
Yeah, you tweet about it all the time because you're like
all the time. But for people who want to attack and play for fun and not worry about clean sheets, then get yourself 3 good 5 to 5.5 million defenders, and that 2 million, that literally is possibly Son to Ronaldo, or Grealish to Son if you were doing it that way. And then it sucks because Trent Alexander-Arnold is a fantastic player. He's got loads of potential. He's going to be all the way up there. But you can just go into every single game week and be like, I want lots of goals. Because
do that anyway.
FPL's fun. FPL's for fun, right? So I've seen people go with 3. Imagine this as a wild card, right? 4.5 million. When I'm wild card and I make a template like this, I'll have a play around with this, right? 4.5 million goalkeeper, 3 or all 5 of your defenders, 4.5 to 5 million. See what you can make with your attackers.
Just that's definitely lack of flexibility if you're going to wild card, because you're stuck with it. And, you
just won't take them. Have like Reguilon, Stufal, maybe a Reece James, and then for Livramento on a 4.5 and a 4.5 million.
They aren't all 4.5s. If you had all 4.5s, you'd be stuck.
No,
with
4.5 to 5.
Okay,
or just one 5.5 and the rest cheaper.
Okay, it's interesting. I
just want to see how much what I could buy in attack, because that can be the difference. That money would be a Grealish to a Ronaldo, not a Son to Ronaldo.
My last piece of advice for anyone wildcarding would be not to massively adhere to the current template, because it could change. It changes so quickly. You need to maintain flexibility in your side through price point. So keeping the likes of Alexander-Arnold there's definitely credence in that. I think it's really, really tough to get rid of someone like him, especially as he's coming inside to the pitch, playing more of a Cancelo role sometimes when Harvey Elliott's playing. It's really, really difficult to get back onto once you spread the funds. Particularly, you don't really want to make defensive changes later on, and it'd be really difficult to rectify without a wild card.
So talking about Trent, he's 7. Like, we all know his potential. We know he's good. Do you think I know he's got a 6 point, a 12 point, and a 4 point, which is fantastic. Do you think he keeps that up and keeps that value of 7.5?
100%. Like, over Liverpool.
So selling him is just out of the question then.
Yeah, I mean, it did cross my mind last week to try and facilitate 3 premiums, but it really does hinder the rest of your side. And we know that we get value from our premiums by captaining them. So do your captaincy matrix. If you've got one premium that you're not going to captain over the next 6 weeks, then it's probably not worth having him. Just spread the funds and get a decent team around you. So Alexander-Arnold, there's no doubt in my mind that he keeps it up. He's playing a slightly more advanced attacking role this year. And Robertson's back, Van Dijk's back, Matip. I think Matip and Van Dijk are so solid. And Alisson's the one, isn't he? One of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League, and he plays for Liverpool in front of that screen. So I really can't see Alexander-Arnold falling off at any point, really. And he's always got a 20-point hole in him.
You were talking about selling him.
I know, it crossed my mind, but then I sort of said to myself, what an idiot.
The way I look at it, like I said before, I don't look at positions, I look at the points potential. He's pretty much the same price as Jota, as Greenwood. And you look at that and as soon as you say that, you think, poor, he's easy worth 7.5. Why am I even considering? Why would I sell? And people singing the praises, Greenwood's ahead of Bruno Fernandes. Trent Alexander-Arnold is 1 point behind Bruno Fernandes.
Says 1 point. Says it all. But yeah.
I understood I was going to play around to see what I could make if I had such a ridiculously cheap backline. But for 7.5 million, he's an immovable object.
Yeah, I agree. I'm definitely staying in my team. Well, I mean, we've talked for like an hour and 38 minutes. No, an hour and 38 minutes. That's a very long stream. I just went straight through. Unbelievable.
Like Pascal Gross talk.
What a waste. What a waste of time talking about Pascal Gross. Well, if you bring him into your side, I swear to God.
On a wild card, how much is it? It's 6 million. It's the same as Traoré.
Oh my God.
Hey, Traoré 0 assists. Pascal 2. That's all I'm saying.
There you go. Everyone, listen to Rob, because he knows what he's talking about.
He's 16 on the ICT index, it says here. 16.
Unbelievable. Right, in Top Gear style, on that bombshell, I think we will finish. So, good luck with your moves, mate. Whatever you choose to do, wild card, this -4. Seems like you're in two minds, to be honest. So, a lot of thinking to be done over the international break. I'm pretty set on mine. I've got 0.2 to play with, price rises, so we'll see what happens. I'm going to leave it till quite late to make the moves, so we get all of the information, and I would suggest that you guys do that too. But if you've got the exact money, then you probably should just do it, because that 0.1 out is so annoying, isn't it?
2 weeks left. You don't see it as paying for information to hold?
Yeah, it's probably worth
anything. What if there's an injury during the international break?
Yeah, but if you've got
COVID rules come out.
I completely agree with you. There's so much information to gather over into this international break. But if you were exact money to get Lukaku and Torres in, or Lukaku and Traoré, whoever, and one of them goes up in 0 by 0.1 and you can't make those moves, then it just puts all of that decision out of the window and you've got to search for some, lesser move that you really don't want to make.
Trincao. It's 5.9.
You are determined to get these rubbish
5.9.
players. Right,
Rubbish?
He's not rubbish. He's not rubbish. He's not rubbish.
Sound like that. It's rubbish. Right.
He's not rubbish. No, I completely take that back. Because he did look very decent in that match against Man United, actually, Traoré. So fair play. Backtrack on that. Right, call it a day there. Have a good rest of your evening, mate, and we'll speak soon.